Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our student webinar, Standing Out from the Crowd. My name is Mark Maynard. I will be moderating today. And first, just to say welcome to everybody. This is a training webinar that we've designed for students to support you in your studies during now and going forward. I'd also like to just say that as you progress through your studies and you become qualified, the Institute, we are here to support you throughout your journey in credit management. Please feel free during the webinar to ask any questions, or we can look at those at the end for you. We've got two guest speakers today. The first one is Jules Amis, who will be presenting a webinar on a guide to revision and exams. And I shall pass over now to Jules to get us started. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly admit people. So apologies if I pause occasionally when it comes through that someone's trying to get in. I'll be the first to admit I'm not a multitasker. And part of what we're going to discuss today is exactly that actually when you revise, you can't do it kind of with one eye on the telly. It does take a little bit of concentration. I won't give you my life story. If you want to know anything about me, there's a biog on the CICM website. But just to give you a little reassurance, I am credit manager by breed, a qualified credit manager and a qualified teacher. So that's where I come from. And probably more so for today's session, I am a former student of CICM qualifications. So I have been through both the pain and pleasure of studying for CICM, ACICM and then MCICM qualifications. So these tips that both myself and Catherine in a little while are going to give you are tried and tested, because we're coming at it from a teacher angle, but also from a student angle, because we have had to come up with ways to do it for ourselves. So that's what we'll be doing. I'm going to share my PowerPoint with you, just so that you don't have to keep staring at my face, really. Let me just do a shared screen for you. There we go. So hopefully you can see a lovely CICM banner there, can you?
Yeah, can see that. Excellent.
Okay, so our guide to revision and exams. It's quite a fast-paced summary of everything. So if you've got any questions, you might want to just hold off for 10 minutes or so and then just ask me them at the end. It could well be that questions you ask, Catherine's going to cover in hers, but I'm sure she will jump in and let me know if I'm going to steal her thunder. So just a quick overview then of the CICM qualifications for those that are not entirely familiar with them. We have level 2 units, so that's kind of your GCSE level units. We also have a range of mixed level ones, they're the yellow ones, and level 3 units, so they're more your A-level, second year A-level units. We have level 4 units, that's an example there. And we also have level 5. Level 5 is your university level units. And the reason that I mention all of those is because they are assessed in different ways. So some of them will be assessed by a written assignment. And today we're not talking about written assignments, because that's a whole different animal. So if that's something that you're dipping your toes in, because with our qualifications, you can mix and match. So you might do some things that are assessed by an exam, but you might say, actually, I want to do a subject in business communications. That sounds interesting for my job, but that's assessed by a written assignment. If that's something you're interested in, we don't cover it today, but just let your branch know. I'm sure it's something that we can look at in the future for you. But the ones circled here are the ones that are assessed by exam. So that's what we're going to concentrate on today. Some of them, like the accounting principles and High Court enforcement, you can see at the bottom, they're more of your traditional written exams. So you'll have some kind of long style essay questions to answer. All the others are assessed by multiple choice exam. And today's revision session covers both of those. So it doesn't matter which of those you're studying for, all of these tips will work for you. Okay. As I said, we also have level 5, but all of those are assessed by written assignments. So I haven't cluttered the screen by adding those on. Some top tips to start you off then. These are my 3 key tips before you even, pick up your books. First of all, get yourself a study timetable. So the idea here is to create something that's workable for you, and you can do it any way you like. So you might want to put some things in Outlook calendar. You want to create an Excel sheet. You might be like me and just draw something pretty on a piece of paper. The important thing is that you write it down so that it's real and you make it regular and realistic. That's your first big tip. Now we're going to be coming back to study timetables in just a little while, just to see how you can divide your time up over it. Make sure you've got people supporting you. So, and this is everybody in your sphere, because the idea here is, firstly, they will support you if you ask them to. So everything from a listening ear to a cup of tea can be quite nice. They can help give you the space you need. And also, if you know they know, you're more likely to do it. So if you've told everybody, actually, from 5 o'clock on a Wednesday night, I'm going to be studying, then it's very hard for you at 5 o'clock on a Wednesday night not to study if everyone around you is expecting you to. So it can be a really good incentive. Yeah. So make sure you get that support, both at work and outside of work. My third top tip is to find, if you don't know already, what your learning style is. Now, CICM have a learning styles questionnaire. So if you haven't got that yet, it doesn't cost anything. Get in touch with Credit Academy and they will let you have that. And it's a way of you working out, if you don't know, what your style of learning is. Everyone learns differently. Some people learn better writing things down. Some people learn better by hearing it. So finding out your style, and then it gives you tips on how to adapt how you're learning to match that style, means that you're more likely to be successful in what you're doing. So it sounds like, oh, that's another thing to fill out, but it will really shorten the time you have to spend learning and revising, because you're doing it in a way that will stay in the head. So take advantage of that if you haven't done. Okay, so now you're all prepared, it's time to look at some of the study materials. So CICM will have study texts for all of those exam-based units that I talked about before. And what you want to do really early on is get familiar with your subject as a whole. Right, so what a lot of people do is they pick up their study text and they start at chapter 1 and they go through it with a tooth comb, and then they look up and find it's exam tomorrow and I haven't finished my studies yet, because you've got bogged down with the detail at the beginning. So my recommendation would be just have a general skim read of the entire text right at the beginning. Before you're starting any real study, just get familiar with the whole subject. Now, if you're finding that too daunting, because you've got 250 pages ahead of you, then at the very least, just look at the front and the back of every chapter. So in each study text, you'll have a first page that gives you the introduction and the learning outcomes. This is what we're going to cover today. And then at the very back, it summarizes what was covered in that chapter. So at the very least, right at the beginning, just look at every chapter's front and back. It'll only take you one short evening to do. And what it means is that now you have got a really good context. Sorry, someone wants to come in. Just let them in. You have a really good context on which to start your real study. You can't really study chapter 1 if you don't understand the whole subject that it's talking about. And I'll come on to that in a bit, the importance of learning, not learning things in isolation. You've got to learn them as a whole. So try and do that if you can, at the very least. Also, get familiar with your syllabus. Now, a lot of people don't even think of looking at their syllabus, but it is a goldmine of information if you want to revise effectively. Oh, I've got a bit of feedback. I don't know if that's someone that's not on mute. So in your syllabus, you will have, for every unit, some learning outcomes. Teacher speak for, this is the stuff you've got to learn, okay? Also, it will have, probably more interesting for you, something called assessment criteria. And that is teacher speak for the stuff you're going to be tested on. So make sure that you're familiar with assessment criteria, because that's what your questions will be created from. And it will also have indicative content, which is a posh way of saying the detail behind the subject headings. Okay. So get familiar with your syllabus. Now, I don't know what broadband's like, but I'm going to try and click on, I'm going to be brave enough to click on this and see if my broadband width will take me. So I can just quickly show you where it is. I just need to drag it over here so you can actually see it. Right, so this is our, can everyone see the CICM website?
No, I can.
Progress.
Say that again, sorry?
Can only see your presentation still, Jules.
Oh dear, oh, that's not worked very well at all.
Gone back to page 1.
Okay, in which case I won't show you the website because I'm not wanting to do it. What I will do, oh, I think I've already showed you the link, haven't I? Okay. Kind of stopped it midway, hasn't it? Are we back where we were?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, in which case I won't take you through it. That's the link there, and this is recorded, so you'll be able to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
It's really simple. I can talk you through it. It's so simple. So if you click on that, it will ask you what you would like to be qualified in, because we've got a variety of different subjects: credit and collections, high court enforcement, money and debt advice. Click the one you want, the level you want, and every time you get to that page where there is a level, just go to the right-hand side. There's a column that's got a little book that says syllabus. So on every page, when you've clicked on what you want to study, it'll give you an option on the right to click the syllabus, and then it'll open a new tab and it's there. Okay. The syllabus are quite big, but it's only because of the number of units. So all you have to do is search for the unit you want to study, and it's all there for you. But if it's going to muck up the presentation, I won't click on it again now, but it is straightforward to look at. So please use your syllabus. You'll find that really useful. Okay. I said I'd come back to the timetable, and so I have. The thing here is to make sure that you know right at the beginning, what's my exam date? So don't start thinking about that halfway through your studies. Right at the beginning, go, okay, if this is my exam date, how many weeks have I got between today and exam day to get everything done? It sounds really simple, but people don't always do it. And then you work back from there. Now you'll see I've got a little example here, not entirely realistic, but just makes it easy when you separate things into 10. Let's say you have got 10 weeks between now and your exam date. Okay. And let's say, just to make it easy, that your study text has 20 chapters in it. Okay. What you need to do is divide those 20 chapters up, but you don't divide them over your 10 weeks, because then you've got no time at all. So you need to make sure that when you set your timetable, you block out a bit at the front for that skim read we talked about. Okay, so make sure you've got time there to get familiar with it, to see the whole subject. And then make sure you block out a chunk of time at the end for solid revision. So when you get into this end bit, this 8, 9, 10, you should have studied all of your chapters. You don't want to be using your revision time to learn new stuff. That is purely there to go over the stuff you've already learned. So actually, you've only got this middle chunk, which is 5 weeks to study your chapters. But already you've got your support in place, haven't you? People know when you're going to study. So you've said, right, I'm going to do a chapter Tuesday, chapter Wednesday, a couple of chapters every weekend, spread it out over that time. All right. And then you make sure everybody that can support you knows that timetable. And then you're more likely to stick to it. What that does is free up those 3 weeks at the end to concentrate on revising without having to worry about finishing the text. I labour that point deliberately because it's an easy one to overcome. Support, well, obviously, if you need support, CICM are here to offer it. So this is just to give you a flavour of the sort of support you might want to take. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with saying, you know what, I started this on my own, I could do with a little help. But you've not failed. You only fail if you dig at it and don't get the support, really. So there are things like coach supported studies. So that's if you're studying at a distance on your own, but perhaps need a coach or a mentor to help you through. Obviously, we've got virtual classroom. So if you think, actually, I'm going to benefit based on my learning styles questionnaire, I think I'm going to benefit from having other learners with me and a tutor to talk to and bounce ideas off, then maybe that's your better way. And maybe you think, oh, look, there's a revision session, I'll jump into that. So these are some ideas that at any point in your learner journey, you might change how you were going to do it, and that's fine. It's entirely flexible. And of course, reach out to us at CICM. We can put you in touch with peers, mentors, the membership, just to give you that support. And I suppose what I'm trying to say here is I'm not trying to sell you product. I'm trying to say your branch, your CICM HQ are actually there. We want you to succeed, to be a qualified professional. So please just get in touch and let us help you. Don't do it on your own. Top tips to maximise your study then. Find a workable routine. Okay, so make sure that when you've got that timetable in place, it is realistic but stretches you a little bit. If you start getting stuck in a rut, shake it up, don't get bored. And if it doesn't work, don't abandon it. You know, don't throw baby out with bathwater or whatever they say. Just adjust it rather than quitting. Second top tip is something Catherine's going to talk about in a little while, which is getting a bit more creative. So what you can do in your revision is you can kind of text a little bit every day, which is fine. You'll learn a bit. You might, you know, find it interesting, you might not, but much better to make it a bit more fun. So do whatever you want to do to be creative in what you're going to learn. So you don't want to read and not take notes, because how are you going to remember? But when you take notes, think about different ways you might want to do it. Some ideas there, some ideas Catherine's going to talk about. So yeah, make it work for you. And make a connection. I did touch on this before. It's probably the biggest mistake most people make in their revision. So what they do is they learn each topic in silo, and then when they come to the exam and a question asks something that pulls different things together, they go, I didn't see that in the study text. That wasn't fair. It's because what you've got to do is you don't just learn a fact to regurgitate it. You learn a fact to use it. Let's face it, our qualifications are here so we can use it as professionals. So when you learn about something in your study text, in your classes, whatever it is, you then have to do joined up learning and go, okay, what does that mean for me in my work? How do I apply it? What does that mean in relation to all the other stuff in that unit that I've learned about? It's about linking all of your things together. Then when you come to have your exam questions, they'll make more sense because they're the sort of questions they will ask. Okay. Another quick one on that, when you're making connections, it makes you have to express things in different words to the text. Of course, if you have to say it in your own words, that's the way you will know whether you really do understand it. Okay, I just want to give you as many tips as I can, so apologies if I'm rattling through this, but you will have this on record. I think we're sharing it on the CICM YouTube channel after. Okay, so we have done our pre-study, we've studied through our study text, we've divided our time up, we've done some revision. Now we have got to make sure that our revision time that we've scheduled really works for us. The best way we can do that is use our 6 revision tips. Okay, so I'm going to go through them quickly for you. The first one is read. I don't mean read the study text because you've never read it before. Remember, we've blocked out revision time. You've done all of your study. So when you come to revise, you're reading the stuff that you created while you were studying. So it might be your study notes. It might be something you've created more visually. It might be listening back to something that you recorded. So go back over your stuff. Secondly, recall it. So now you've done that, go away and go, okay, what can I remember about this subject? Try and recall it in whatever way works for you, which leads us on to that step, which is to record it. So when you record what you remember, if you just think about it in your head, you might remember it again in the future. If you say it out loud and you're reading it and you're saying it out loud, then you're using your eyes, you're using your voice, and you're using your ears. You're now using 3 senses. So you've got 3 times the chance of it staying in your head. So think about the ways that you want to record it. So you might want to speak into an audio, you might want to create a pretty picture, but again, be creative in what you're recording. Then revisit. So once you've read it, recorded it, then have a look back and go, actually, did I get all the points? So this is where you go back to the beginning. Okay, I think I had a little gap in my learning there. I thought I understood that, but when I tried to record it in my own words, I quite clearly can't explain it. So go back and revisit. So that's where you really get to the crux of what you need to revise next. And then you reduce it. So you'll notice we're forming a circle here. So each time you do this, the notes that you had at the beginning, you reduce them down. Okay? And then repeat. That's R number 6. So you go around in ever decreasing circles. The idea is as you get closer to your exam date, you've been doing this so much that you've reduced your notes each time. You might just have like little post-its like this, which I've just got a key word on maybe 6 post-its. And you get to the stage where you look at that postage, it says Incoterms. And suddenly, because you've been doing this, your mind kind of follows the paths that you've been taking, and you can tell me everything about Incoterms just by a prompt. So that's the idea of reducing. So keep going around in a circle like that, and it will work. Okay, test. So when you have got to the point where you think you've revised quite a bit and you want to see how well you're doing, you can use formal and informal testing. Okay, so formal testing is the stuff that CICM have given you that mimics your exam so that you can have a practice. So for your multiple choice questions, there are knowledge test questions. So they form the same format and they're online. And for your written exams, we have practice, exam and sample questions on the website. Okay. What I would suggest is don't try and do that too soon, because you want to use those to test. If I went to the exam today, what would I know? So leave it until you've done a bit of revision and then do a bit of your formal testing. So they're there for you. And you can also do informal testing. So that's you kind of covering it up, making sure you can recall it in your own words, applying it in the work scenario, and using your self-assessment questions. So at the end of every chapter of your you have questions where you can test and then turn the page to something. So use that during your revision work as well. I'm near the end. Next, it's actually the exam. So on top of all that, you've got to get ready for your exam. So your top tips for this then, you need to make sure you know your subject. Good sense, doesn't it? So well before exam, you don't want to be swatting. You just want to be using those final notes to remind you. You need to know your exam structure. So make sure with your formal testing, you're really familiar with what you need to do when you get there. So if it's multiple choice, 60 questions in 60 minutes. You have 1 correct answer out of a possible 4 options. So make sure you know that and you're familiar with that. Again, with your longer style exams, they'll have different formats. So make sure you get really familiar with those with the practice questions. Make sure you know when it is. I mean, really know, and other people know when it is and where it is. So if you are physically going to an exam centre, please do a dummy run. So please, before the exam, go at the time of day your exam will be, check the traffic, check the parking, check how much it costs to park, all of that sort of thing. You don't want to be worrying about that on the day. If you're a proctored exam, so you're doing it on a laptop at home or at work, please do the system compatibility check so that you know for sure it's going to run okay and your firewalls aren't going to stop anything. And please do the check on the machine you're going to do the exam in, because otherwise it won't work. And finally, make sure that you know for sure what you need to have on exam day to prove who you are, the ID. Again, all of that, you see the website link there. It's really easy. It's just a 1 button click that tells you all the things that you need to have to hand. Even if you're doing proctored, which is an exam at home or at work, you still have to have your ID in front of you so you can kind of show it to the camera to prove who you are. So make sure you've got that to hand. I'm done. This is my quick summary. You can tell I can talk a lot, so I will. I probably won't have any questions because I've covered it all. Quick summary then. Make sure you set your revision timetable. Let all of your supporters know. Make sure they do support you as well. I find chocolate biscuits work particularly well. Study creatively, okay, and connect your learning, really important. Don't learn each subject on its own and just try and recall it. Follow those 6 rules of revision. So read right through to repeat. Use the tests. They're there to help you, but time it right. So formal and informal tests, they will allow you to check what you know, and they will give you a clue as to what you need to do in your second wave of revision. Know everything you need for the exam in good time. And of course, let us and the branch help you. That's what we're here for. So stay in touch with us. So that's it. Wishing you luck. But the final word, of course, is if you follow all of these steps, you'll make your own luck and you'll succeed in your exam. And that's me done. I've talked at you. Now, I don't know if you have any questions immediately or whether you would like to listen to Catherine's very useful practical session before you have any. It's entirely up to you.
That's thank you very much, Jules. That was an excellent and informative presentation. Some really good advice there. So I would say if anyone has any questions, could you pop them in the chat for us? We'll have a look through those during Catherine's presentation, and then we'll collate them at the end for the last couple of minutes to address those. If for any reason we can't answer them on this webinar, what we'll do is we'll take them away and we will post some answers if they've not been already covered in the webinar for you to check. And please feel free to come back to any of us if you've got any further questions. We'll be more than happy to help. Right.
Okay. I will stop sharing my screen for everybody now. So. Okay. There we go.
So what we're going to do now is just move on in the presentation to our next guest speaker, Catherine, who will just give you a brief an introduction. And also in Catherine's presentation, she's looking at study revision aids and mind maps in particular. So over to you, Catherine.
Hi everybody, Catherine Bailey, and I too teach with the CICM. I'm currently doing the credit management course, and I too have gone through the pain of exams. It seems only like yesterday that I did all the exams, but I actually had to do the handwriting ones. So you'd go in for 3 hours, do your exam, and then sort of work out with a really cramped hand. Whereas, you know, these days you've got the computers and doing your multiple choice questions. So that is great. Now, what I'm going to be talking about today is mind maps. And the reason for that is because me personally, I'm a very visual learner. I also like to be able to do things. So as we go through this, anyone that hasn't used mind maps before, you will be able to use software, but you can also literally handwrite this. And so for me personally, I like to handwrite them because it gives me an opportunity to learn as I'm doodling, and doodling is quite therapeutic as well. So I get all the information coming in, and I'm doing my creativity, and then you've got all the information out there for you to see. So let's see if I can move this on. Here we go. So there's a picture of a mind map. Oh, hang on, it's going too quickly now. Let's go. oh, hang on. Not quite sure what's happening now. Technical joy. Right, let's try and do this again. Right, so what is a mind map? As I've said before, it's an easy way to brainstorm your thoughts organically without worrying about any particular order and structure. And it allows you to give a visual impact to your ideas, and it can help you analyze the subject matter that you're using and also recall it. So you can see a tree with all its different branches, and you'll be able to apply that to a particular topic that you're going to be utilizing. So what it is, it's a diagram for representing tasks, words, and concepts, and you can arrange them around a particular central topic. And it gives it the ability to use non-linear graphical layout that allows you to interpret a subject in an intuitive framework. So as Jules mentioned before, the wonderful world of Incoterms in export credit. If you're not au fait with that subject and you find it particularly difficult, then creating a diagram with lots of different lines coming off it can be very helpful to you, because it gives you an image for you to be able to look at and then remember. So it can turn a long list of monotonous information into something colourful, memorable, and highly organised. And it'll work with your brain's natural way of doing things. Oops. So what is a mind map? If we look at this example here, you're going to go on holiday, and this is your schedule. You're going into Europe. You want to go to Germany, UK, France, Denmark, and you want to have a look at all of these different sites. But do you want to just have a basic list? Because if you lose that list, how are you going to remember it? You might have an itinerary on your phone, or you may have an itinerary located somewhere else. But if everything went to pot, you lost your phone, you lost your documents, how would you know where you're going and what you're doing? So what we're going to do is we're going to put that information into a mind map. And this is how it would look. The topic is in the center. This is your vacation. You've got the 4 countries that you're going to visit. So you create the 4 trunks. You color code it, be it by flags or however you want to do it. And then you break each country down into other sections. So for Denmark, you want to go to Copenhagen, you want to go to Billund, and then the little twigs and the leaves at the end, you can see will be exactly where you want to go. And, you know, you could do Lego bricks. Here we've got the Eiffel Tower, you've got the Berlin Wall, you've got the Brandenburg Gate, all of these things. It's visual. It gives you something to, as you fall asleep, look at a picture in your mind and think, actually, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to work from here to here to here. So it's very, very clear and very concise. Yeah, just a little extra. So the theory behind a mind map, there's a lot of technicality behind it, but it really is about your brain's functionality and your memory system. And the easiest way to do it is to say that you can use your brain to entice, delight, stimulate, and challenge you. Again, looking at the picture below, you've got an apple in the middle. You've got little branches going off about you want to have a healthy living here. So you want vitamins. What vitamins do you have? So you could take those branches out and go, okay, to get those vitamins, I need these types of food. If weight loss is something that you need to do, what do you need to do the weight loss? Could be no weight loss. It could just be a healthy living. You've then got to look at bright teeth, and you can't see the other two because they're underneath the presentation. But the point is that there are different aspects of all of the mind mapping, and it can just help you go, this is what I want, this is what I need to achieve, and this is how I'm going to get there. Now, similar actually within the course of credit management at the moment, you break that down into what is credit management. And you think, well, you've got credit management in the middle, and then you've got the function of credit management and the purpose of credit management, and then the tasks that you achieve or you complete every day within credit management. And those basic things that you do every day, you could create and put into a mind map. So you know that this is why you do it, this is how you're going to do it, this is what you need to do, and these are the little subtasks that you need to complete by the end of the day. So you've got the 5 essential characteristics. So the main point is to focus on a crystallized central image. And then those themes will radiate out from the central image as a branch, just like your tree. And then the branches will comprise of a key image or a keyword drawn or printed and associated on that particular line. The topics of lesser importance are going to be represented as twigs of that particular relevant branch. And then the branches will form that connected nodule structure. So again, thinking of your just basic tree, you've got the roots, you've got the trunk, you've got the branches, you've got the twigs, and then you've got the leaves. And all of those will flow in a particular lineal structure, and each one will get more detailed, but each will represent a specific part of your structure. So thinking about mind maps and where they came from, there was a magazine article back in 1970 that actually published research that showed that individuals have a recognition accuracy of images between 85 and 95%, which I thought was absolutely fascinating. And I guess the quote that we've got here, "A picture is worth 1,000 words," is kind of how you remember things. So you've got your exam preparation here, very similar to what Jules was already saying before. So you've got exam preparation in the middle, and then you could have repeat your information, you've got your study structure, you've got your time, the resources that you need, are you going to be working in a group, and then you've got your test structure. And then out of each of those 6 key areas, it then breaks down even further. So resources, have you got your book? Have you got your notes? Are there any resources online that you can use? And then what you can do is you can break that book down further into the little leaves. It's your CICM study text. Are there any other additional reading materials that you know are going to be helpful? Did you take any notes in class? Do you need to refer to them? Have you got your post-it notes, your glossary that you've always told week in, week out? Use your glossary, write it down, get your post-it notes. Working in groups. I mean, I cannot stress how important that is if you've got a study group or even your work colleagues, being able to involve them in your exam, it's really good. Having people come up to your desk, pick up a post-it note and say, okay, answer this question. So again, it's utilising people within your workplace, at home, your friends and family, or within your study group. So look at that, and that would literally be a mind map for what Jules was saying before about your study preparation. So we associate and remember images because they make use of a massive range of your cortical skills, your imagination. And images are just fundamentally the most important thing to trigger memories for you. So if there's something that you're finding particularly difficult and you can't remember, find an image that will associate with that particular subject and create that image, and then create that mind map in that image. And then what you will find is later on, as you're trying to remember it, as in Incoterms, you'll suddenly remember you've got this image. For me, Incoterms, when I was trying to learn it, I mean, I had to learn it for my exam, and I have to learn it and know it because of teaching it. But still to this day, I remember the image of a little boat on the water and the quayside and little lines going across. So when the boat leaves the quayside, who is in control of the goods? And to me, I mean, this is 15 years later, and I'm still remembering that particular image in my mind. So the point is that the argument to back mind maps as an appropriate tool, it's there, it's absolute science. It's not the fact that it's using images, it is an image. So, more science for you. John Hopkins study, they're doing all the COVID studies as well at the moment. They have said, and they found out that students who use mind mapping increase their grades by 12%. Now, people with learning difficulties, so anybody that suffers from dyslexia or autism, also find that using maps and mind maps help them understand. And I can categorically say that is true, because both my husband and my daughter are dyslexic and they use mind maps, and it's amazing how much information they retain by using imagery to learn. So I cannot stress enough that anybody, whether you have got a learning difficulty or you don't, mind maps are just really very, very helpful indeed. So, 6 easy steps to create a mind map. Enter the main subject in the central point. So, for instance, we're looking at capitals of the world. Then you want to brainstorm topics. So you've got your main branches to enter your topics. So you can have London, Paris, New York, Beijing. Don't worry about anything else at that particular point. Don't worry about a particular order. Then you do your subtopics. Elaborate on those topics by creating the branches as they come out, and utilize short phrases or single words, anything that will trigger your mind to remember things. Then it's an opportunity for you to muddle up the topics. You need to arrange it in a way that is going to be good for you. No one mind map for one person is ever going to be the same as somebody else. You've got to do it in a way that is going to be good for you. So then you can add images and you can format it. And mind mapping theorists always say that specific images and colours will improve memory retention. And if you think that, I would always put Incoterms with red. because red to me, you know, is kind of like, you've got to know this, you've got to know this. For me, the court system is green because I love the court system. So, you know, you create colours according to how you feel about things and how you're going to remember it. And then, of course, if you've got particular software, because you don't have to write it on a piece of paper, you can put it on computer software. You can attach notes and research files to your mind maps. So as you look at it, you can click on things and it'll bring up information for you. Otherwise, you just have your paper and you just write along it. But don't make it too messy, too dense, because then you'll just look at it and you'll go, actually, I don't quite understand what I'm doing. You need to make it quite linear and quite structured. So using the capitals of the world as we've done there, here you have a little mind map. So you've got Washington, you've got, for instance, the US Capitol, you've got the White House. For Berlin, you've got the Berlin Wall, you've got Brandenburg Gate. London, you've got Big Ben, Tower of London. Paris, you've got the Eiffel Tower and Notre Dame. And again, you can use little images. So you might not remember what some of these places are in different countries, but if you actually draw them, make a little image, you might find that actually the words come back to you just at the right opportunity. So, much shorter than Jules. The conclusion for this is all learners can use them, but visual learners are the ones that will benefit mostly, because certainly from my point of view, I am very visual about things, but I also benefit from writing things down. So I use mind maps, but I don't use computer software, because part of the memory aspect for me is actually drawing it. And by drawing it, doing it, and seeing it, it stays within my brain. So they clarify subject matters that may confuse some learners, and they create a picture that your mind can remember, and therefore allows subjects to become understandable. So thank you very much. Brief, I hope, but interesting. So if you need anything, any questions, then Mark, I'm sure will be fielding those shortly.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Catherine. Some really good information there. Excellent presentation. I think that the key to learning, from what our guests have said so far, is we all learn differently. Find a method of learning that is most appropriate for you and your circumstances. I like the mind maps because I think, as Catherine said, a picture paints 1,000 words, and it is a very good way of making sure that, or testing understanding. Whilst you have a chance now to pose any questions, I've just got a couple of bits I'd like to go over. The session is being recorded, so if you don't have any questions at the moment, and you do find you have something that you may want to ask later, please feel free to contact us. Or, as I say, the presentation is being recorded for future viewing. We do also have Catherine, Jules. We're all on different branch committees. So we have committees throughout the UK and Ireland. So again, please feel free to join one of our events, which you can do virtually. If there's anything in particular that you would like to ask us or discuss, we are very happy as a team, either HQ or an audit committee, to address those with you. The other thing I'd like to ask is just if anyone has any, after this webinar, if anyone has any ideas for future webinars that we could put on for you, we'll be more than happy to do that. But we really want to make it about you and your journey in studying. So if you do have any questions or any ideas for future events, please get in touch. I can see, let's just see, I think we've got a couple of questions coming through. So someone has just said there that it's great tips. Thank you very much. I think what we'll take from that is that it's very useful, I think, because for me, speaking about one of the things that Jules said in particular was committing to studying, and I think part of that is getting your friends, family, and colleagues on board with you, because there are always distractions and things like that. But I think once you commit to it and your friends, family, and colleagues know that you are studying and you set aside some time for studying, then not only is it very difficult for them to, to sort of contact you during this time, also for you, you've made that commitment then, and it just encourages you to study. So we're just going to have a quick look, see if we've got any more questions there. Could I ask, what I'll do, we've got a couple of minutes left. What I wanted to do is just to ask Jules first, if there's anything that you wanted to say in terms of a recap. And also, I've got a note here about future, potentially the next exams coming up. I'm not sure if that's you, Jules, or Catherine, that might be able to just to answer that question.
Okay, well, I probably spoke longer than I needed to, so I won't start again, because you get me back onto the subject, I'll go for another 20 minutes. You can probably tell, and Catherine's the same, we do the tutoring out of a passion, not an income. So, we've both been through it and got a lot out of it in our careers. Both of us have done really well in our credit careers because of, in no small part, securing the qualifications. So that's why I would encourage you all to give it a go. If I know this is specifically revision, but if any of you are not studying yet and you're just not sure, all I would suggest is a little bit like the mind map, where you start small and it grows, doesn't it? And it's the same, that find a subject you're really interested in, or one that you feel quite comfortable with. You actually, I know a bit about this, and don't look beyond doing that one. So just dip your toe in, have a go. You don't have to go, oh, I've got to do, how many units have I got to do to get CICM, and how have I got, just look at one that you think you're going to enjoy. At the beginning, if you need the support, sign up to everything you can and get all the support, actually enjoy it. And yeah, before you know it, you'll look up and you'll have your full qual. But yeah, dip your toe in. That's my final parting comment.
Very much. Thank you, Jules. And just from you, Catherine, to finish off, is there anything that any you'd like to summarise from your presentation?
Just to back up really what Jules has said. I have so many students that come through and they say they haven't studied for maybe 10, sometimes 20 years since they've left school. And the point is that we were all in that situation. I mean, I was a mere chick when I took my my qualifications, having left school some 20 years beforehand, of course. But the point is, anyone can do it. And if you're working in the environment, it's using the resources from your own companies and your own experiences. And you'll realise that actually the subject matter and the way it's taught is not dissimilar to what you're doing in business. So working side to side with your company and your family and friends to get you through it. And I think anyone can do it. You've just got to look at yourself and go, actually, I am going to do it. I'm going to study. And over these next 10, 15 weeks, I'm going to have my timetable. I'm going to listen to what the tutor says, because that's really important, because we know what we're doing. And, I'm going to look at my self-assessment questions. I'm going to do my homework. And then by the time the course is finished, you'll be 100% ready for your exam, and you won't have to do this big cramming panic situation right at the very end. So spread the pain throughout the course, and then by the time it comes to your exam, you will sail through. And that's what we're here for. We're here to get you to pass your exam, and we will support you every step of the way.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Catherine. I would just like to say that this particular webinar is arranged with the East of England branch and HQ. You can contact us at the East of England branch at CICM.com, or if you visit the CICM website, there's all the contact information for all of our branches, and also there's an events page where you'll find some useful information. I think it's worth visiting that just to see if there are any other future events that are planned that you can sign up to. So it just leaves me to say thank you very much to our presenters. Thank you to everyone that has been involved in organising this webinar. Really good contributions.